Happy birthday, dear Daddy. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Daddy, Daddy, hand down. Wish for something. Hey, look, you spit on it.
Oh, wait, right here? Oh, look at this. Oh, boy, look at that.
You want to put it in? It's beautiful out here.
It's great.
Can you get him in the picture?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it on?
Now I'm going to let it warm up a little while.
If you need to, we can open up that screen and plug it in right in the outlet.
Yeah, no, it doesn't
Want me
need
to take it off?
Right.
We will have a rehearsal.
A rehearsal.
Yeah, all the neighborhoods used to have semi-pro baseball teams, you know. And if you know Astoria, at the plaza there's the Queensboro Bridge that goes over to Manhattan. Well, at 23rd Street, right on the corner, there used to be the Springfield Grays baseball team, and all the high schools used to play in there.
Wow.
Read that.
Rita, it's an old trap. And they
I'll call later, Mom, please. I mean, I'm going to lose my job. Angela's a freelancer.
How do you know you're going to lose your job?
I tell her that, but she leave me alone.
You can never tell.
Our sales are terrible.
Really?
You know what it is too. Everybody makes so much money.
Thank you. Gina, where are the clips?
You know, I begin to think that the unions moved banknotes. We had over 20 unions there.
Look what they did to the papers.
And
Daddy.
look what they did to the breweries. New York City had about 20 some odd breweries at one upon a time.
Oh, Gina.
Tell me about your parents. You were telling me they came from the part of the city in Palermo.
They came from the capital.
What's wrong, Gina? That frustrating?
You said they came from a part of the city that was a bigger city?
Yeah, they used to call it Sette Cantori.
Is it on?
The seven faucets. You see, at one time, they probably, the people in that section, it was like a square. So you went down and got water, you know. Now, my mother was born, 1885. So she was a young girl when she used to go there with her half brother and sister to get water.
1885? And
she was born
that's
in
Domenica, right?
Yeah, she was born in. And she was married on January the 1st, 1904. You see, when my mother was born, that was the second marriage of her mother and the second marriage of her father because they lost their mates, you know.
Oh, no divorcing.
No, they lost their mates. So each had 3 children. So they're actually, and from the marriage there was 3 more children, you know. So there was actually nine people. You know, half brothers and sisters, you know. She is beautiful back here. I never realized that.
So what about your father? What year was he born in?
1883.
And he was also from Palermo?
Gina.
Yeah, oh yeah. You know, in those days you didn't travel so much. You were born in one place. If you went a half a mile or a mile away, you know, it's a big deal. I remember 97th Street. I never went further than
Give me those.
95th Street, you might say.
So then how did they meet? You know?
They just grew up in the same
Oh
area?
yeah, they know one another.
And they got married in Palermo?
They got married here in New York.
So they came over separately?
Yeah. My grandfather, my father's father, was born.
Is it on?
Go ahead, Daddy.
My grandfather, my father's father, was born in 1885.
Yeah.
1850. And he came here in 1900, so he was 50 years old when he came here. My father was a teenager.
This is Nunzio's father you're talking about?
Yeah.
Do you know his name?
My grandfather's name was Dominic, and my grandmother's name was Francis. But I think her maiden name was Troya.
Troya? Would that be Francesca?
Yep, Francis. Oh, what is
Did you say that Nunzio came over here with his father?
Yeah. With his father and his brother and the sister.
And what year was that?
I imagine around 1900, 1901. Now, my mother was telling me they were here for a short while when President Garfield was assassinated.
Isn't that... Oh.
1902 or 1903, somewhere in there.
You're not talking about McKinley? He was assassinated in 1900.
Yeah, something like that. I think it was
And
McKinley.
then Teddy Roosevelt just got in.
Damn it. I used to know. Well, anyways,
I'll look up Garfield's death. Do you think it was around the turn of the century?
yeah, around a little after the turn of the century.
Any tissue? Why did they come to this country?
Well, I
Thanks,
guess
Teresa.
economics more or less, you know, because Europe was more or less the same old system and it's stagnant, you might say, you know. It's always an economic reason why people move around.
Were they farmers?
No, no, no.
Gina?
Now I'll tell you about my mother's father. My mother's father was a pattern maker.
Dress patterns?
No, no, no. A pattern maker for foundries. He made the patterns for screw propellers for ships. You see, he worked in the shipyard because it's all he lived by the sea. And when he was finished from work, he would go home and have something to eat, and then get his little boat, go out in the Mediterranean to do a little fishing or something, you know.
What a life. He's so beautiful.
So he made you know what they do? They glue wood together, and then they shape it, you know. And then they use that in patterns. They pour bronzes, so they make a bronze propeller out of
I
it.
mean, it's like a mold?
Yeah, they make a mold,
Oh.
you know.
Wooden mold?
They make a mold out of wood.
You would think that it would be too hot.
Molten bronze.
No, you don't understand.
They're cutting it?
No, you don't understand. The mold is always two pieces. They put the wood pattern in there, right? And they put the other part of the box on it. Then they separate it, nice and easy. They take the wood out, and then they put the mold back because there's pins to give you location.
What, Gina?
She got it. Now.
So this was
The
Domenica's
name-
father. This was Domenica's father.
Yeah.
And what was his name? You don't know?
Go get those.
Yeah.
Get all those.
I think his name was Michael.
Daddy, what were your brothers and sisters' names? All of them? It was Dominic.
Let him name them from the oldest going down.
Yeah. Now,
I can't
Dominic
name
was
them
the
all.
oldest one. And then Michael.
Michael.
He's alive, right?
Yeah. And Jack, his name is actually Giacomo. Right?
But he's passed away.
And then there's Frances. She lives in Florida yet.
Yeah,
I don't think I ever met her.
I did
And,
once.
Oh, yeah?
And then there was another one before me, but my mother had miscarriage.
Oh.
And then I came, and then the girls came, the three girls.
What about Nancy?
Yeah, she's the last one.
Oh, I see, right.
She's
So
the
who's
last.
older, Rosie
Oh,
or
I
Nancy?
never met Frances. I met
Rosie
Nancy.
was older.
Uh-huh.
I was, my sister
Was she
Frances-
born Nancy?
Huh?
Was that her given name?
No, her name was Annunciata.
That's pretty, huh? Everybody anglicizes their name. You were Giuseppe, right? On your
Yeah,
birth
yeah,
certificate.
Giuseppe.
She's
They used
containerizing
to,
like mad.
they used to call me,
Quite
when
well.
I was really little, my mother used to call me Benet.
What does that mean?
I
What?
don't know.
Benet?
Benet.
Probably a dirty word.
No.
Probably means get lost. So they speak the Sicilian dialect?
Oh, and how? It's only going to differ. You see, when Italy was unified in 1860, they were thinking about not putting Sicily in that time, but of course they had Italians, you know.
Thank you, Gina.
But from what I understand now,
Thank you.
Is they trying to do away with all dialects, just like in this country,
Yeah,
you
to
know.
uniform make the language.
Because my father used to buy the progresso, he could read. He only had 3 years of schooling, you know. He could read and write easily, you know.
So why did Domenica's family come over here if they were set with this ship foundry?
Well, you know, everybody seeks their own level, you might say. They like my grandfather was all set there, you know, and he died there. You know, he died of appendicitis.
Well, they couldn't operate probably in those days, right?
They didn't know what it was. He died, I think it was in 1918. I don't know how old he was, but he must have been
So
pretty
then
old.
they came here, and where did they settle?
Oh, they settled in downtown New York, Cherry Street, somewhere around there. And,
Both sides of the family were down there?
well, after when my mother got married, that's where
Cherry Street?
yeah.
That wasn't
Now-
Little Italy, though. That's like the Lower East Side. It's not really Little
Well,
Italy.
because she used to say Chatham Square, the station Chatham
Oh,
Square on
yeah.
2nd Avenue L, you know.
That is Italy. That's
Rita.
right where Italy meets, Little Italy meets
Get that other
Chinatown.
chair.
What are you going to do, put it there?
No, you.
I want to sit down. All right, maybe I will. You know what? Last
Watch
month,
it,
Daddy and I were on it twice. We were asked to bring the chalice down during Mass. Are you two listening?
Mom,
That's
come here,
Make
Gina.
sure she doesn't knock over the camera or fall off the stoop. Well, that's nice. I'm glad you
How do you
finally
tell
got
if this is
something.
on or not?
Hey,
You look in. See, it says REC?
Yes.
that happened to us once before when we were visiting St. Teresa's Church.
Oh, that's good.
And but this is twice in 1 month.
Do you want me to move it a little?
No.
Do you want to be in the film?
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Oh.
I want to
I
stand
don't
here
want to be in
because
the
I'm...
film. Don't change it. Don't change it.
No, let it be in the film.
No, if she
You
doesn't
don't
want
have
to,
to
I
tell
won't.
her anything, for heaven's sake. Don't you understand?
I just want to make sure that the lighting
fine.
is okay.
Give it to her because I want her to play with that. Keep her mind occupied.
Yeah, let's
Away
just
from
just
falling
watch,
out.
just like you've been doing through, so that's great. Okay, so they came here and they were down on Cherry Street.
Well, more or less, you know.
They got married what year?
1904.
And
Now-
then what did
now,
they do after that?
In those days now, there was the Black Hand. That was
Oh,
not a Sicilian, but that was a Neapolitan group, you
like
know.
the mafia, right?
Yeah, identical. And you know, the origin of all this is because Sicily, and part, especially the sea coast of Italy, they were always invaded by somebody else. Now, I gave Angelo an article about the Vikings that came to,
Everybody came calling.
and not only that, the Vikings found that places that they invade was much better than where they came from, so they stayed here.
Because it was warmer.
You know.
Yeah.
And if you take,
That's a no-no.
if you take,
Oh, I'm going to get something this week.
no,
It's
you're
going to
not.
drive me bananas.
If you take France now, they call the Normandy part France. Actually, that's what it is.
Uh-huh.
They're the people came from, well, actually, North people they call them, right? You want more?
Gina, where are they? Can you hand them to Mommy, please?
Oh, she's got a good
Thanks,
place
Teresa.
there. That's good. But keep her away
Teresa's
from
very
the edge.
good.
That's good. Teresa's
Okay, so what did the Black Hand, was your family involved in it?
Well,
This is a juicy story.
they terrorized everybody.
In the
All the
neighborhood?
storekeepers had to pay
Got
so
money.
much. And of course, if you were a working man or so, you know, and you wanted a favor, you paid for that and
But
everything.
did they do favors for people?
Well, they do favors, anything to make money, you know.
Nobody can have anything. She takes everything away.
But they would lend people money.
Oh yeah, it's
So-
just, yeah, right. Now,
Probably wants
now
twice
it
as
so,
much back.
it so happened that my father, of course, when he came here, he had to find work, but he was
She
actually
needs more.
he was
Daddy?
a tinsmith, you know, because he was telling me he used to work on some of the skylights in some of these mansions where he does a lot of, but he couldn't get work like that, you
couldn't,
know.
no?
He didn't know the language and everything, you know.
Yeah.
So one day he says,
Push
he
it
says to
down
my
a little
mother,
closer this way, Teresa,
he
so that you
says
won't have to
to my
move
mother,
down as far.
let's take the children and Ellen to one place.
That's it.
So they went up to a place called 106th Street, between First and Second Avenue. No, First Avenue. I remember I used to go. My aunt lived there. It was beautiful. And all these
Gina?
apartment houses were fairly new because
Gina,
as the
give me
further
your
north you
binky.
went, the more newer they were. You know.
Give me your binky.
So they liked it. So they moved up to 106th Street.
What was he doing for a living then? Give me the binky.
He used to
Give me
do
the
pick and
binky.
shovel in the ditch. He said, my mother
Give me
said
the
that
binky.
they put 200 men with horses
Mm.
to take the dirt out. You know.
But they had no-
He used to wash bottles one time in some kind of factory. He used to sell olive oil. He used to do a lot of things. You know.
Did they have children by this time?
Wait
I'll
a
hold it
second.
for you.
Now, that was when they first married. Now, when they went up to 106th Street, my brother Dominic was born there, and my brother Mike was born there. You know?
She wants to lay down.
And
Quiet.
then he must have realized that there was so many opportunities that he saw, and he rented out a little store to start a fish business, and that's where I was born. I was born back in the fish store, you might say.
You were born in the fish store?
In the back, you know. In those days, in those days, the store was in the front, and then you had
Right.
2 or 3 rooms in the back.
But they were living, your family was living in the back there?
Yeah.
And where was the store located?
On 97th Street in the block, and then my father moved up to the corner, and we
Right.
lived in
Then
the
you lived
apartment
in the
house,
apartment. That was funny.
in a railroad flat. You
So
know?
none of you were born in a hospital then? Were your
Not
sisters
that I
born
know
in the
of.
hospital?
Not that I. God bless you. Yeah.
What do you want, Gina?
I think I hear Dada.
Gina, come here. Come on.
Put it down.
Come here.
Here he is. Here's Dada. Keep her away from there.
We've been in the...
Oh, you making all that noise? Oh, all that noise you make.
Didn't Howard go to it now?
No, I don't think so. When that battery wears out, I can plug it in to the outlet through the,
Through the window, just open up
like
the
you said, you
screen a
need 2
little.
batteries.
Yeah, so she went uptown and it was beautiful. Now 106th Street is a big wide street,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And
That's St. Cecilia's Parish?
I don't know. Now
How about-
I was born on 97th Street, and I think Jack and everybody else was born on 97th Street.
Isn't there Pleasant Avenue?
Yeah, they don't call it Pleasant Avenue. They call it. It's named after some politician, I think.
Oh. You know, Angelo's family lived there also.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Gracie lived there for a while on 119th Street. So that's now my mother's father. Like I say, he was a pattern maker, and his company won an international prize for making school propellers and all that. And there was an English company that wanted my grandfather to go in England. He did go to England with. My mother was, my grandmother was pregnant of my mother at that time. But he was in there for a few months or a few weeks, I really don't know. And he didn't like it at all. He didn't like the English weather.
What part, where was he, do you know?
Somewhere in the southern part of England, you know. So he went back home, you know. He didn't want the job, more or less.
She would have been born there.
My mother would have been
She would have
born.
been an English citizen.
Yeah, my mother would have been born there, maybe. Let's see,
So did he come to this country or no?
no, he never did. Now, my mother in 1908 took my brother Dominic and my brother Mike to Europe. You see, my father had a nice business going. You know,
In the fish
in the
fish
fishing.
business
Oh,
was doing
yeah.
that well?
But, oh, yeah, because I remember the time he bought that 1924 three-quarter-ton Dodge truck.
Wow.
He had seats put in it. You know, he used to wash the truck out with CN, you know, and
What was that?
that's a disinfectant. You know, everybody used to use CN in those days.
Probably toxic.
It's the bestest or something.
So they
we
went
said-
to Europe?
Huh?
They went to Europe for a visit?
Yeah, my mother did, not my father.
And your mother?
Yeah, just and the 2 kids, and my mother's father, my grandfather, he saw the two children, you know,
Oh,
the
that's
two
nice.
boys, you know.
So they go by boat.
Oh yeah, by boat. That's the only way to go.
Must have been a long voyage in those days.
Well, it took, she said it took about 15, 16 days to come here from Europe.
You would think they wouldn't want to repeat the trip.
I know, right?
Ever.
Well, the way I see it, these people are really desperate, you know.
Yeah, like the immigrants today. Certainly.
Yeah. And I can never understand why countries can't take care of their own people. Now, I think that here in the United States, they go too far the other way. They got too much freedom, you might say. And it's just like a steam engine without a government. It's gonna fly apart. You know
Well,
what I mean?
everyone's taking all at once. Everyone wants to take from it. No one's working anymore.
You see, now, like the First Amendment. Now, you mean to say that they didn't want the founding fathers didn't want religion? Of course, they wanted religion and all that, but they misinterpreted that First Amendment altogether. Now, the way I read it several times. Basically, the way I read it, it means that the government would not interfere with my religion. That's the only way I could see it. But who the heck built a wall between them? You know? Now, if you go in northern countries of Europe like Norway and Sweden, the bishop is always paid by the government. In other words, that's a state government. You know, I mean state religion. But of course, I don't believe in the state religion at all. But, you know, everybody could practice their own religion the way they want because that's the First Amendment. But they went too far. They went too far with it. Even you could say anything you want, and you have a right because it's a First Amendment article, right? But yet they say that you can't holler fire in the theater. You know, that's the only stop that they have on the First Amendment. But look what you could do with the First Amendment. You could have pornography, right? You could have indecent everything. You know, you can't fight that because it's all in the amendment. But they didn't mean that. You know what I mean? That's a damn shame.
Well, tell me more about your father's business, the fish business, and how he lost it, and how you used to go down to the fish market with him.
Well, when he bought the house in Woodside, he used to, my brother Mike used to drive the truck. Because my brother Dominic already was married. He was married at 21. And he worked in the fish market, my brother. And he used to make $150 a week as a salesman. You know?
Wow.
It was a lot of money in those days, you know? So anyways,
So when did you move to Woodside again?
in August of 1925. I'll tell you a story on that too. We used to go along Laurel Hill Boulevard, Laurel Hill Boulevard over the Penny Bridge, which is a bridge over the Newtown Creek. And that's the way that they got to Brooklyn, you know? Instead of going through New York, go all the way down and over.
Where is this Penny Bridge now?
Maybe I could look it up in the thing
Is
here.
it still there?
Must be, because I used to ride over with my bicycle. Now the Penny Bridge was at one time you paid a penny to go across it.
And what did it connect?
Well, it connected Queens itself, you might say, but the Newtown Creek came in there. Now the barges used to come in with oil and stuff like that, sand and gravel and stuff. You know what I mean? Maybe it's still on the map.
I would say it has a different name now.
So we used to get down there. And I used to sit in the middle, and I used to watch my brother drive the truck because I was about 11 years old. I could drive the truck, you know, from watching him, you know. And my father. So, you know, the South Sea.
Much better,
I have
Teresa.
buck teeth.
I should have done that from the beginning.
You think the picture's much better?
No, I think you won't see
Am
it.
I in it?
Yes, I think you would.
Do I have buck teeth?
Of course not. You remember the time you come home and you say, Mommy, I have to go to the dentist to get my teeth wired,
Yeah.
you know? So we sent the
You don't
dentist.
remember the day you came home and
the teacher told you she thought you needed braces.
Yeah.
It was about the second grade.
You know, they wire the teeth.
Because
We take it down there and the dentist is nothing doing.
No.
So
But they
actually,
straightened themselves. It was from the pacifier.
thank God they
Well, I
straightened
sucked
it
my
out.
thumb until I was 22.
Is the coffee hot, Mom?
No, you have to. If you pour it out, you have to heat it up about 30 seconds in the microwave. Actually, I was probably about 6 or 7 when I stopped sucking my thumb. I'll do
Mom,
that, Mom. Why don't you
Please
sit
leave
down?
them. You're blocking the camera.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Okay.
Forgive me. I forgot the camera was on.
You see what I mean? That's what makes me mad because you
No
forget.
environmental awareness at all.
She'll say something to me, and I gotta figure out what she's talking about. Could you hear it?
John?
Now, what are we talking about? Which side, I think?
Yeah, from the house, we would drive along Long Hill Boulevard over the Penny Bridge. I don't know, down towards Manhattan, you know, lower part of Manhattan. And once we got there, we would go into this coffee pot, or what they used to call it a coffee pot in those days, you know, a restaurant, you know.
You didn't know of a place called Werner's, did you? Werner's Restaurants?
No, I don't know what it is. This, he used to park the truck on South Street, I think, you know.
About what year was this?
25, 20, no, 26, 27, somewhere around there. And we would go in there, and I would have a cup of coffee and Drake's cake, you know, in the cellophane and all that. And sometimes they used to put it in the toaster.
They had them back all the way back
Yeah, that was really some Drake's cake with raisins, you know.
Was it like a coffee cake?
No, it's just plain cake, you know. They had plain cake and they had plain cake with raisins. And then we would sit in the truck, my brother and I, and then my father would go out and buy the fish for the store. And then the fellow would come up with a hand wagon, and he'd say, 1725 right there. Yep, so we put the fish in the truck. Maybe that would take 2 hours or so. But we used to leave about 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, to go there. So finally we would get to the store, and then I would go home by the 2nd Avenue L, you know, 5 cents, the fare was 5 cents. I was old enough to do that. I would walk up to 99th Street and 2nd Avenue, and then climb up on the downtown side. My brother said, make sure you go take the downtown side, because once you're on the side, you can't move over, you know. So I would take the train down to 57th Street and 2nd Avenue. And then that was a special station, because you can get down one flight a little bit, then go across, and you're on the uptown side. And I had to take the either the Astoria train or the Willets Point Boulevard train, you know. Now, when the train approached the 59th Street Bridge, the tower guy would switch the track over, so we'd go over the Queensboro Bridge or the 59th Street Bridge. Can you imagine that? Now, maybe I should tell you this also. The train used to run in the middle of the bridge, and on both sides, was it both sides? No, one side, I think, on the downtown side of the bridge, they had a walk. They had the benches to sit down, and the walk was pretty big, from, you know, maybe about 12 or 14 feet walk. And when I was a kid with a bicycle, I used to pedal down to the bridge there on the south side, and I would carry my bicycle on my shoulder. I would go up the bridge was plenty high. I walk up all those steps with the bicycle on my shoulder. And then once I get up on that walk there, I'll be pedaled, because that's like uphill, you know. And I would go as far as 60th Street and Lexington Avenue. Not Lexington Avenue. 2nd Avenue, you know, pedal out that way. Then I would pedal a little bit in Manhattan, then go back again, you know. If my mother knew what I was doing, she'd have a fit. And in 1927, when Lindbergh flew to Paris, he took off from Roosevelt Field, which is in Valley Street, I think it is.
Where the mall is today?
Yeah, Mitchell Field in you know, in Nassau County. And I used to pedal out there. And then from my house in Woodside there was about maybe 15, 18 miles. You know. So I practically lived on a bicycle when I was a kid, more or less.
Did you help your father even on school days?
No,
Just on the weekends?
no, I never. You mean in the fish store?
Yeah.
No. I lived in Woodside at the time, and the store was in 97th Street. I never went to Manhattan. Sometimes I would go, you know, and stay in the store for a little while, and then go home.
So how did he lose these? How did he lose the store?
Well, you see, when the Depression started, everything went bad. And a lot of people were moving out of Manhattan and moving into Queens, you know, because they had the big metropolitan houses that they used to call the Mets. And all the Irish people moved there, so the business started to fall down. And then my brothers, I really not too sure about it, but they say I sell a store. My mother didn't want to do that. He sold the store, you know, and then he bought a store in Astoria. But my brother Jack didn't want to stay in the store. You know, he didn't know what to do, so he sold that. And then he made a big mistake trying to open up a place of his own, which of course failed. And then he opened up another place, and that failed, and that was the end of it. You know. So he sold the house. And the house cost. I even remember to build Amboy homes, AMBOY homes, $9,250. But when he bought the house, the price went up to $10,000. My father, you know. So
What was the address?
5028 46th Street. Woodside. And on the other side of Queens Boulevard was called Sunnyside, like 46th Street went all the way down. In fact, he put a store up on 49th Street and Skillman Avenue, and of course it failed. You know. Then he had that store in partnership with somebody else in Astoria, and that failed.
All fish stores?
And not only that, if my father had the store by himself, he would have made out all right, but he didn't have the money to buy out the other guy. So actually the partner ruined him, you might say.
Did he have the first fish store? Was that with the partner too? The one on 97th Street? Or did he have that alone?
He had that alone because all my brothers and sisters were born. Look, my,
No, were they alone? Did he have that alone?
Oh
Was that
yeah,
his store?
oh yeah. Yeah.
So what did your family do for money after the failed in the stores?
Well, we sold the house and we moved to Bradford Avenue up here.
So you actually sold the house. You didn't have it.
Well,
That's
I don't
why
know. You see, in those days, Maria, the banks never took care of those taxes enough, you know. And my mother didn't know nothing about that. My father didn't know nothing about it. Like today, if you buy a house, you got money in escrow for taxes and stuff like that, you know. Or they send you a bill, like here, we get a bill for, you know, for the taxes every 3 months. So, I don't know if he made money. I doubt it if he made money. He paid $10,000, and I don't think he got $10,000, especially during the Depression. The house went down to maybe $4,000 or $5,000, you know.
And then you moved up here to Bradford?
Bradford Avenue,
What year was that? Early 30s?
1931. You see, I was going to Newtown High School at the time. And then we moved to Astoria.
From Bradford, you went to
Yeah,
Astoria?
because he got that's one of his business that he started down there, you know. And that failed. And then around 1933, 34, I moved to that job was here, Paisley here. And of course I graduated from school while I was living up there, and I had to go out to Elmhurst to go to school, you know. That was quite a trip, but it wasn't too bad. Yeah, and then of course, my sister Rosie got married. Not Gracie. Rosie Francis got married. Mike got married. Jack, of course, he got married. And then it was Gracie, my mother. In 37, my father died, you know. So actually, you might say I took care of two families, you might say. This family and the other family, you know. Then in 1940, Gracie got married. She was 21. And in 1945, Nancy got married.
So what did you do when you got out of high school? You went to college for a while, right?
Well, I went to college a little bit because I got around 40 credits, I think.
Was that at night or during the day?
No, nights. And the funny thing is that I lived on Baisley Avenue, and I had to go to City College. And I took the trolley down to Westchester Square, then took the trolley down along Westchester Avenue, all the way down to 130 some odd Street, then crossed down on the trolley car. Took me about 2 hours, you know. And then in those days, I get a job, and didn't last long. It was too hectic, you know. So after a while, I did fairly well in school, you know, because not only school, but even trying to, you know, exist, you might say, you know.
Because of the Depression?
Oh boy, it was really rough.
Yeah.
You see people lined up in the long churches to soup kitchens and everything. And big signs outside the factory saying no work or no all that baloney, you know. And people selling apples on the street corner for a nickel. So, oh boy, something to drive me crazy. Now in 1934, I was downtown looking for a job. And all of a sudden I found myself in the recruiting station, the United States Army. I forgot what street that was. It's downtown. So the fellow sergeant down there says, you know, they gave me a physical and everything, and they gave me a sort of a test, you know. I passed that and everything. And I was down there about 3 hours, maybe more. They even gave us lunch, like, you know. So he says to me, this was either Wednesday or Thursday, I don't remember, but it was in the middle of the week. He says, come in Monday morning, we'll swear you in. I never went back. I had second thoughts. I didn't care for the Army life or anything like that.
Did they try to come after you?
No, because once you're sworn in, you're officially in the Army. But I never got sworn in, so no, they never bothered me. That didn't mean nothing, you know. People do that; they have a change of heart. That's the reason why, after I passed the test and everything, they waited 3, 4 days, 5 days, you know, because they didn't swear me in right at the end of the day, you know. So that was that. And the funny thing then in high school, I took a technical course because grade advisor said that see, I was considered a minority, you might say. So essentially, what I took was mechanical drawing, basic math, machine shop, electrical wiring, and joinery. Joinery was what my grandfather. I never knew the pattern makers. You get a ruler. The ruler is much bigger than the standard ruler because of the fact when you measure something, when you make a pattern, the pattern when it cools down it shrinks, so they make it larger. You know. That always stuck in my mind. My grandfather must have had a similar ruler. You know. So of course I had a lot of jobs. You know, maybe I remember I worked going 9 o'clock in the morning and 1 o'clock in the afternoon I quit. Never went back to my pay or anything. In those days, well, you make maybe 35, 40 cents an hour.
Did you care for the jobs?
You know, I often wondered. I never thought of it then, but all the owners, they all small places, they have about 15, 20 people. They're all Jews, you know.
Tina. Tina Ann. You're gonna break the glass, honey. You wanna come out? Thank you.
Whoops. Four down.
Wanna play with the clothespin?
Come on. Come on.
Yeah, I know.
You can watch what I lay down because I'm working.
All right, Ash, I think she's gonna have to go in. Okay, do you mind?
Say, come on, Gina. What do you want? Honey, don't just throw on the floor.
You're okay. You're okay.
Oh, really?
She's almost knocked the camera over.
Window open?
Oh, look at that.
Let's go upstairs, come on.
So you were saying how you were working in a few places and you didn't care for them and you never went back?
Yeah, and they were all Jews, you know. They would, you couldn't go to the bathroom, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, you know. So then I would get down to New York State unemployment, work for a job, and then we would get jobs like, I know I worked in a place, it was a loft somewhere on in the 20s somewhere, you know, 5th Avenue, 6th Avenue probably, a loft, where I was making, on the lathe, I was making legs for stands like that, a lot of copper tubing, you know, and that only lasted maybe a few months too, because he got slow and everything, and that was very, very common to get laid off. You know? Now, do you know where the finest used to be? Well, right next to Finest, there's a little building there, 2700 Tremont Ave. Now, I worked in there. Finest, of course, wasn't there. It was a big lot. I worked there where I used to do machine work and oil burners, which was a big thing coming out in those days, oil burners. Now, they would go up to Connecticut to get the castings, the boss would, you know, with a truck. And they would bring the castings down, and I would finish them off. And then I had a template. I said bolted on both sides of the burner and drilled holes and tap holes for you see, the boss was like a tool and die maker. He used to make all these fixtures up for me, you know. I was only, 21, I think. And I would tap holes and everything, you know. They would put a oil pump on one side, and then you had a squirrel cage thing and a motor on the other side. In other words, the motor would operate the squirrel cage. In other words, when the burner was on, it would force the oil out, air and everything, and that would burn in front of the burner, you know. So I worked at that for a little while, maybe 6-7 months, you know.
Probably was convenient to your house.
Now when I went back to New York State unemployment, I met fellow, I don't know his name. He was an Irish kid. He lived in Brooklyn, and he said to me, he says, Joe, he says, now this is around later on, 38, 39, 40, somewhere around there. I don't remember. He says, try to get a job with a big company. Don't go in these small places, you know. So, all right. So around 1940 or 41, first of all, I tried to get places, try to work in Brooklyn. And I almost had a job in Plainfield, New Jersey. They were doing war work at the time. But when the guy took my applications, he didn't give me the job. He says, where do you live now? I said, I live in the Bronx. He he won't give me the job because it's too far away, you know. I said, well, I'll get a room around here, you know, but, they didn't go along. They didn't believe me. I don't blame them, you know. I still living with my mother, you know. So finally, in a way, they couldn't draft me right away because I said, sure, you take me, but you take care of my mother, you know. They didn't want to do that, but they will get desperate after a while. So finally, I got a job with Ford Instrument. 41, I think that was.
Where were they located?
Long Island City. Now, they occupied a building that the White Truck Company used to be there. And that was a heavy building because they used to have trucks run up on the first floor and stuff like that.
They built the trucks in that. In
Yeah,
Long
they
Island
used
City?
to assemble trucks, and it was also a repair place, you know, because the city of New York, I've seen some of the trucks in there. The city of New York had these garbage trucks, and they used to weld certain parts on the body, maybe broken and all that. So I finally got a job with Ford Instrument, you know.
What did they make?
They had a contract for building a mechanical computer for fire control on ships. In other words, they could shoot a 16-inch shell, maybe 20, 25 miles, and they might be off 100 yards or so, maybe. You know? And these are mechanical computers. Now, I was working on the, I forgot what they call it. I was working on part of it, you know. Each department worked on something, and then it was all put together, you know. And well, I worked practically over 10 years, maybe more. Oh yeah, because I quit there in '61. Because in 1956, now I got married then in '54. In '56, they asked me if I would go to Phoenix, Arizona, Bristol, Tennessee, another place in down south, because the government wanted the building, they didn't want in the city, in other words. They had to get out of the city. They didn't want the concentration of all of it because they're afraid of getting bombed and all that. So the year before that, now when I got married, I was living with Grandma, you know, because I didn't have no well, I had furniture for I had I don't know, $2,000 in the bank, $2,500, and Rita bought furniture bedroom, you know. So Grandma had 6 rooms in there, so she took me in, you know. That's I really appreciated that, you know. Well, anyways, after that. Oh yeah, well.
So you were working at Ford Instrument?
Yeah, I was working for Ford Instrument, and they wanted to send me down south somewhere. And in the meanwhile, Sister Pat, Rita's sister Pat, came in from California with Doug, and he said to me, Doug said to me, he doesn't remember because a couple times he said, he was a Mason, and he said to me, Joey, he says, I guarantee in 2 weeks you get a job as a machinist in California, because that was a big state for, you know, for defense, you know. So I said, not doing because Mommy wanted to go out to California. You see, she was in California in 1952, I think.
She wanted to live out there?
Yeah, she wanted to go out to California. But you see, she doesn't realize that where she lived then and today is altogether different, you know. There's too much smog and everything. So many people went out there. So I said, no, nothing doing. I got a job here in Long Island City. Why should I do that, you know? So I knew darn well that I'm going to have kids, you know. So I said, no, nothing doing, you know. Now, when I came home, and I said to Rita, I said, the company wants to send me to Bristol, Tennessee, and Phoenix, Arizona, and all that. That's where Mary lives today, you know. So she said, no, nothing doing. Why should I go out there, you know? You didn't want to go to California, so okay. So I never went, you know.
Very hot out there, though, with no air conditioning.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's different.
Well, you see, in those days, the humidity wasn't as great as it is today because of man-made humidity. So finally, oh, let me say something else. In 1948, just my mother and I were in 1948, and
Keep going.
I was doing fairly well, and so I told my mother, I said, I'd like to buy a small one-family house. Now, what I had in mind, of course, I never told her that I could have gotten a couple of houses even around Pelham Bay there, you know, with 3 bedrooms. I figure if I get married, at least with a house, I would have a better chance, you know, because my mother would have a bedroom, and I would have a bedroom, and I have a spare bedroom. You know. When she heard, maybe she brought back the memory of having a house in Woodside, you know. She says, I'm not going to take care of no big house like that. She says, I'm not going to. No, we had a 2.5 room apartment, you know what I mean? So that made up my mind that I had to leave or something because I've been too long, and that sort of put a crimp in my life too, you know. So I says, okay, I says, it's all right. And then I said to Rita, I says, I lived in a farmhouse. I don't care to live anymore in a farmhouse. I said, that's important so you can buy a house, you know. In the meanwhile, I was working for Ford Instrument, and he transferred me to the missile side, so, the missile division of the company. Now, Chrysler Corporation had the prime contract, but we were the ones who built all the instruments, you know. Now, all these instruments for, you know, missile stuff, for guidance for missiles, you know. So they sent me from Building 2, they sent me over to Building 3, which is at the plaza, you know. So there was a guy by the name of Cook. He was a superintendent, you know. And he looked at me and he says that they sent you over here because nobody wanted to go there. I don't understand that. So he says to me, now this is 1956. Yeah, you were born. And Claire was born. She was born, what, 57? 58. Well, yeah, at 56, they wanted me to go to Phoenix. That's right. So I didn't want to go, so I was working there, right? So after thinking it over, I said, we ought to buy a house. All right. And meanwhile, this guy Cook says to me, these are the conditions that you're going to work under. You'll be working 10 hours a day from Monday to Friday, 8 hours on Saturday, and maybe 8 hours on Sunday. And he says, I don't want none of this baloney that you can't do it or this, that, and the other thing. You make up your mind now. These are the hours. You want to work, yes or no? If you don't want to work, go back, you know? So I'm saying to myself, geez, boy, I said, this is some opportunity, you know what I mean? Boy, I said, what a chance this is. Well, okay, it's all right. So that's what happened. And not only that, they had crazy shifts, you know? The one shift that I was on, I started at 6 o'clock in the evening. 6 o'clock in the evening. That's when I had the little Chevy. You never saw that.
What year was it? 32 Chevy?
Yeah, the 32 Chevy.
You had it in 1956?
No. Oh, no, I had the mercury at that
Yeah,
time.
before you
Yeah.
Mercury. Watch your step, Gina.
Whoops. Whoops. Watch yourself. Watch yourself. Yeah, watch yourself. So anyways, I started out at
We're almost finished, huh?
6 o'clock in the evening till 4 o'clock in the morning. That's right, because I used to get home in 20 minutes at 4 o'clock in the morning, you know. Yeah, I had the mercury, that's right. And in 1956, the year... Watch yourself. You want a ball?
Look at the camera. Gina, what's the matter? Tell Mommy. You want gum?
Okay.
What's gum? Did Daddy have gum?
No.
Where did you see gum?
No.
His gum?
Okay.
She wants gum, Ange.
Gum.
She's talking about gum.
You have a piece of chalk.
I gave her some chocolate kisses. Yeah, I gave her some.
Did you have chocolate kisses?
Oh, that's
Did you have
nice.
chocolate
two-
kisses?
2 little pieces of chocolate kisses.
What? Chocolate kisses. That was good.
Can I give you a chocolate kiss, Gina?
You want more kisses?
Come on.
You gonna take her to the store?
Yeah, I'm gonna walk around. Let's go to the store, Gina. Let's go buy a toy. Okay? Buy a toy? Buy a toy? Buy a toy?
Yeah, in 1956, I made $14,000. Which is a lot of money. And I socked that all up, you know, as much as possible. Then it was time to go looking for houses. Well, I had the mercury at the time, because when I got married, I took the mercury to Canada. We looked around the neighborhood. There were houses there, and you know, down on the other side of Brooklyn Boulevard, we looked at houses there. We looked at houses here too, you know. And funny thing, Mommy liked this street, you know. She said it's nice. And then we went out to the island. Not out to the island, to Queens, you know, where I put $50 down on an old house that was maybe built back in the 20s, you know. But it was nice. It had, you know, the house that I remembered, like in Woodside, it was similar to it.
Was
you
it
know.
attached?
Yes, it was, no, semi-attached, you know. Put $50 down on that. And then Mommy's having second thoughts about it. So she says, let's go back up here. This house was empty. And the first house was empty. And the Moore's house was like a model. And I think there was another empty house, but I didn't go like to walk that way. So I picked this one here. But in the meanwhile, I lost my $50 on the other house, you know. Now the closing, the house, the builder wanted $3,500. The price was $17,200. He wanted $3,500 down. That meant that the mortgage would be 13 something, you know. Okay. And then it cost me $400 for the closing. And the storm windows and the storm door, even the storm windows up in the front there, you know, the big window, they weren't going to do it. I said, I want a storm window for that. That was $465. And then she had my refrigerator, and she bought floor covering and yak. But finally, that's from working overtime. Of course, I saved every penny, you know. I was the stingiest guy you ever want to see. So finally, I looked at bank book and I had $65 left, you know. And then, of course, Claire come along and everything. And, well, maybe, I don't know if you know the rest from there on. That was really something. Now, of course, Grandma, you know, you know, she came along with me. And meanwhile, my mother had stayed with one of the other girls, you know. Grandma came along, and she says to me one time, I was sitting at the table, she says, how much you think I ought to pay you? So I said to her, you better take it up with your daughter because I ain't got nothing to do with it. Whatever agreement you make with her is okay by me. So I think she was getting $35, $40 a month or so.
I remember we shared the same phone.
Yeah, from the funny thing, Ben's got the same number now. Talmadge 21538, and he has the same. I used to call Rita on that phone, you know. So the thing was that she stayed, you know. And when she saw the house, she loved it very much. Big kitchen, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was really nice. I really enjoyed living in this place all these years. Gee, my mother was a real fool in a way, you know.
I remember when you painted the cellar red.
You did.
And Grandma, oh, look what Joe did to the cellar.
Oh, I was a guinea.
Red.
What do you want?
A real guinea color. Oof.
Guinea red.
And it's still red down there. You imagine that?
Still red. Want to say a few words to the camera, Howard?
Hello, camera.
We bought your daughter a gift.
Oh, yeah, what?
Old-fashioned clothespins.
Is that them?
No, they're inside.
Oh, good.
Oops, sorry.
I don't know how that tape is lasting so long, Teresa.
That's great. Should last you 2 hours or something.
No, it's a mini tape.
Is it still
It's a
going?
mini tape. It's only 20 minutes. I must have
That's
had it on the
silly.
60-minute setting.
Well,
It's either 20 minutes or 60 minutes. So we're up to 1962 now.
now,
Made it all the way from
Look at this
1914.
It's great.
now she says, Grandma says that as soon as Maria graduates from high school, she's going to go to work.
Oh, yeah. Let's go through this part.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's reminisce.
She said that she's got to help you, you know,
I
because that,
remember.
you see, all my brothers and sisters, that's what happened. Now, my sister Frances, she had quite a brain. She's very intelligent. And when she graduated from elementary school, mind you, not high school, elementary school, she was, what, 14 or so? Later on, she got a job at a telephone company, but she had a brain. Because one time I was doing my homework when I lived in Woodside, and I didn't know the word perimeter, what that meant, you know, arithmetic. She says, that distance around the property, you know, she explains.
So I remember that you said I was to go to college if I wanted.
Yeah, I said, she's going to college, you know. I don't care what it is. And then I remember you telling me that it was so hard to get to school because I tried it myself from Paisley Avenue, you know. So I gave you the red car, I think it was.
You bought the silver Ford.
Yeah.
That hunk.
Yeah.
The Gran Torino?
Yeah. Boy, I'm telling you.
What an awful car that was. And I drove every day to City College.
Where was
Yeah.
City College?
138th Street in Amsterdam. Rather, not Amsterdam, St. Nicholas Terrace and Common Avenue.
Yeah.
A nice location.
Was it nice then?
Well, it was a little nicer. It's actually Hamilton Heights, way back in Harlem, up the hill from Harlem.
Yeah, it's a
Well, it is 125th Street, Tom.
No,
Yeah,
it's
but you see,
above
that's
that.
down in the
I
valley.
I thought it was 145th Street in Common Avenue.
130, it starts at 133rd,
Yeah, up to
goes up to
145th,
100,
yeah.
148th.
Sure, because I took,
It's really, it's
I
a
took-
nicer
I
Nice, a
area.
little nicer.
To Columbia.
I got 40 credits from there, you know. I took geology and math, elements of analytic geometry
What
and
did you want
calculus.
to graduate with? What kind of degree did you want?
I wanted to be a chemical engineer,
You did?
Yeah. You would have been a good engineer.
Yes, you said
but
it.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't
Well.
even live, you know. Oh my
The
God.
depression was so awful.
It was a different time, yeah.
We all would have been rich if you became a
Nah, I
chemical
never
engineer.
wanted to be rich. I just wanted
I would
to
have
be
been gone to one of these preppy
I
schools.
I realized that
Would have married a man named Biff.
You
I,
never would have met Howard in Macy's.
Look how, look what you got.
I believe that I didn't get sick in all those years that I was working, you know. And because in the Ford Instrument they were using the solvent, you know, because we used to grind gears with a special compound, then take it in and clean it all out with they used to call it amiline in those days.
Is that still on, Mother? That's still taping?
Which Teresa's so obsessed with the camera. Yes.
I can't imagine that it's still taping.
Look at her. She's leaning over.
Yes, she's
Yes.
Smile on her
kept saying
face.
it's. See, I didn't want Dad to know it was on, so I said we're gonna have a rehearsal. So Teresa said, "Is it on? Is it on?" I'm like, Teresa, shut up. Is it on? Is it on? So she gets up. She's got some.
Yeah.
So she
Oh,
said,
you know that.
how do you
Maria,
tell if it's on? Teresa, it is on.
Trust Maria.
You know, I tell you, when I lived on Baisley Avenue, I got a job at the Biograph Studios that's on Tremont Avenue down here. You know, I was a paint boy. I was making
Really?
Yeah, I was making $2.50 a day
And
as a paint boy.
did you see anybody famous?
Yeah,